A couple of comments either from the vice chairman or from the chairman, Jay Powell, really gave the dollar a bit of a setback as potential aggressive tightening in 2019 might not materialize, which dovetails with most sources I talked to. And the second issue, of course, is what's going on with China and the yuan with respect to the dollar. Two big cross areas for the foreign exchange. Explain the outcomes for us, Mark.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think last week the Fed did set up the possibility of a pause after the next rate hike in December. And it's looking much more likely that we're going to have a terminal Fed funds rate between 2.5 and 3 at the most. And I think what has happened economically is we've had continued weakness in housing, and then with the big sell-off in oil in November, you're going to get a softening in energy investment as well. And together, housing and energy investment is about 10% of the economy, and so that takes down a little bit of the upside possibility for 2019. And so then we look at what happened over the weekend, which I think is actually a big deal. And I think that the press stories are too negative about it. You had a leader-to-leader.
I couldn't agree more, Mark. Couldn't agree more. Continue.
You had a leader-to-leader meeting, and you had everyone in the room present to see what that agreement was. And so it really increases the ability to implement that agreement when both the hawks and the doves are all in the room together, and so this was a pretty big event. Just to tie it back to the currency, the biggest risk for China is that if they had a big devaluation of their currency, capital outflow, it would reprice domestic real estate and could collapse their economy. And so their agreement to stabilize their currency coming out of this does diminish some of the downside risk to the world as well.
You know, President Bush, 41, H.W. Herbert Walker, obviously passed away and the country is mourning. I know that in the early years of the W administration, you were an assistant with economic policy. Do you have any significant stories you'd like to share with us about Bush 41, sir?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously a very sad weekend when you lose a great man like that. In my limited interaction, he liked to refer to himself as the former leader of the free world, often with humor. But it's telling that how he saw the job of president, and he saw America as a force for good, and he was intensely proud of his public service all throughout his life. And he's just a great example for the rest of us.
Yes, no, I couldn't agree more. I remember no new taxes read my lips when I was trading in the pits in the late 80s. And the Churchill effect, you know, he marches the troops after what was a victorious Gulf War and only to lose the next election. They were complicated times, Mark. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on the market and George Herbert Walker Bush.